The Stalker is the most famous and most common heavy assault mech. A product of the Reunification War, the first prototype was produced as early as 2594. Early models were not very heavily armed, but field tests suggested that the STK would be most effective if it mounted weaponry with differing optimal ranges. Although the resulting mech had far more weapons that could safely be fired in a single salvo, it had an extremely flexible response capacity. The League computer systems determined a target's range and suggested the optimum mix of weapons for that situation. The resulting fire control system was, at the time, the best available. The STK represents battle mech technology at its height. Few Stalkers, though, still retain the original computer equipment so vital to proper operation in battle. The STK is still a fearsome mech, but with the loss of the computer, its pilots must be cautious not to overuse their tremendous firepower. The large quantity of waste heat generated by the lasers can quickly overheat the mech despite its 20 single heatsinks. Stalkers are often used to lead major advances while flanked by other heavy mechs. This heavily armoured spearhead was intended to blow holes in the enemy line through sheer firepower and endurance. These steady advances suit the STK-3F well. With a maximum speed of 54 km per hour, it is one of the slowest mechs on the battlefield. The Stalker was not intended for hide-and-seek guerrilla warfare, but for dogged firefights. In urban battles, the Stalker is a particularly deadly opponent. With a wide range of short-range weaponry, the STK is most effective at ranges between 30 and 270 metres. In cities where most fighting occurs at close range, the Stalker can take full advantage of its weight and short-range weaponry. The STK-3F can be employed to clear a path through buildings or fortifications. Its heavy armour allows it to crash through even hardened walls without any serious damage. A favourite tactic of many pilots is to wait inside a building until another mech comes into range, and then stepping through the wall and into the street. Often the Stalker can appear behind its intended victim and fire before the other mech can turn. The Stalker is also an adept defender. It can absorb tremendous amounts of abuse before being forced to retreat, and its cross-section of weaponry allows it to return fire effectively at any range. However, the STK-3F is more likely to carry the fight to the attacker rather than to adopt a defensive position. Because of its highly efficient short-range firepower, a Stalker will usually attempt to close with the enemy and concentrate its attack on the heaviest target. For near 200 years, the Stalker remained in service with the Star League Defense Force as a workhorse assault mech until the fall of the Star League, where it continued in the same capacity for another 200 or so years in service to the successor states. It also remained in continuous production during this time, when Triad Technologies was destroyed in both succession wars. Both Irian Battle Mech Unlimited and Trollshire Heavy Industries began producing Stalkers at their factories on Sherrow 3 and Twycross respectively. Both the Free Worlds League and the Lyran Commonwealth were thus able to maintain the largest number of Stalkers in their arsenals, but still the mech was so common throughout the Inner Sphere and Periphery that some pilots lost their fear of it, at least until they had to face one in combat. Its long career also led to a large number of variants, one of the most common being removing 10 of the 15 tons of weaponry in order to lighten the strain on its increasingly older, battle-worn skeleton. Starting in the late 3040s, Irian began utilising newly recovered lost technology to update the original design, improving upon its weaponry and armour and increasing its heat management capability. These new STK-5M models were fielded in time to take part in the clan invasion, although even with their upgrades they were sorely tested by the clan Omnimechs. The Federated Commonwealth also produced their own variant, the STK-5S, although this was introduced toward the end of the invasion. New variants would continue to be produced in the wake of the Fedcom Civil War, one for both of the split nations, and by Irian in an effort to further keep the design alive.